But just like I can continue. Okay, it has started again. Please, if you can hear me, please do let me know. Could you just do a thumbs up or any emoji just so I know I'm not. Oh, thank you so much tonight. Okay, perfect. So purpose of this is to help you leverage on the power of GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket as a repository to serve as a repository that you can use to also showcase some of your work as testers. As I want to assume most of us here are testers, but if you are doing any other thing in tech, whether you are a project manager or whatever you're doing, data analyst, this can also be very helpful for you. So let me just share my screen. Please, once again, just signify if you can see my screen, just so I know. Can't really see. Okay, thank you, Precious. Thank you, everyone. All right. First thing, this is one of the favorite GIFs that I love, which is just saying hello. So let's get into it. All right. First step is to create a GitHub account and upload files if you don't have one. I'm using GitHub because it's probably more easier to sign up. There's also others if you're familiar with it already. There's GitLab, there's Bitbucket, and a couple of other ones. But depending on what your organization uses, but the most common ones that you can also use for personal use is GitHub. So if you don't have an account, I probably have a very quick step-by-step guide on how to set that up. So let me go back. You just go to github.com. You sign up with, choose a username, email, and password, click on sign up button, and you just complete that calculation and you're all set up. I think there's a part where you need to probably just do a bit of security check or something, but that would get you all set up and then you would have a repository. The next thing is to create a repository. So a repository, let me just break that down. That's more like having a save, or let's call it a wallet. That's that's just something literal to define that. Having a repository means that you can store anything in relation to your work. So if you worked on anything, so for example, the last code or the code I just rounded off, they did work on the project and they were able to collect all of this and then just upload it to the repository, which means that people can, if they share the link to the repository, people can, and I will show that in a second, people can see what they've done and probably ask questions. So if, for example, you did some work in relation to Catalan, for example, and you did upload the scripts on your repository, if you do share that work with, whether it's a recruiter or an employer or anyone who is into tech, they can have an idea of some of the things you've worked on. And that's what the repository is, just to showcase what you've done. And aside your CV, repository also gives that technical know-how on what you've done. So this is just step-by-step process on how to create a new repository. Click login, click on new button for a new repository, and then enter name and description, choose visibility. So visibility is such that you can make your repository private or public. Private means that, just as name implies, it means that only you can see. If you share, you can. If you share, nobody can access it because it's private. But a public means anyone, anywhere in the world, as long as they have your actually view, and they can also clone, they can talk as that. Those are terminologies for Git, and then just create. How then do you upload all of your work that you've done? So if you've probably done some work in Catalan or you've done some work in Visual Studio Code, which I would also do a quick demo on, how then do you upload such files on your repository? So again, there's a upload files button on your repository. Once the easiest way to put any of your, it doesn't even have to be code. It could be test cases, for example. It could be a report. It could be a bug report. It could be anything, PDFs. You can upload anything. It's just like your Google Drive kind of, but this is more technical in that sense, which means that you can share the link, people can view and all of that. So if you have files, Excel sheets or anything like that you've worked on. So you don't have to write code. You don't have to wait till you write code before you can put in, as long as it doesn't contain sensitive information or it doesn't contain things that you're working on at your workplace or wherever you're working. Or so as long as it's not sensitive information, you can put it on your repository and make it public, which means that people can actually see. Or there are a couple of open source projects that you can also check out and then also contribute based on your level of experience. So again, this is very straightforward, drag and drop folder. I'll also show that in the bid. Add a commit message to describe the changes, click on the commit message to button, and then you have your work on your repository. I hope I'm not going too fast. This is just, I can always share this slide to just to give you a step-by-step process on how to create a repository and upload files. There's another method too. There are many methods actually. Another one is probably leveraging on the GitHub desktop. It's an app that you can install on your device, I mean your laptop, whether you're using a Windows machine or a Mac or a Linux. You can find your version on this website, which means that if you download this, it gives you a graphics user interface, that GUI that you can work with. And then that's also another way where you can create a new repository, committee or changes or your files and then push it to your repository. So I'll also show that afterwards. Then this is just step-by-step process on how to do it. Also, you would, in order to be able to maximize the power of GitHub desktop, you also, if you have, depending on any IDE you're working with, an example of IDE is Visual Studio Code. There are a ton of them out, but Visual Studio Code is easily integrated with GitHub desktop, which means that you can, with a click of a button on GitHub desktop, it opens Visual Studio Code, and any changes you make, as long as you're signed in on both GitHub desktop and on Visual Studio Code, there's an extension in the marketplace for Visual Studio Code called Git, where you can also sign in. So once you click on open Visual Studio Code, any changes you make on Visual Studio Code, it would reflect on Git desktop. I'll also do a demo afterwards just to be able to show that. Make changes, commit, push to GitHub using, and this is just scenario. There are several methods, just like I said earlier. There are people who are more advanced who then go about just using the terminal. They don't do anything GUI. You can just write a couple of commands and then you're able to pull and also commit your changes to a repository. Okay, that's just the end of my slide. Let me do a quick demo. Let me stop sharing. 1 second, let me share the screen I need to do. Please let me know if you can see my screen again. Sharing once again. Tim, thank you. Okay. Again, if you've done any of the process I setting it up, you would definitely be seeing a screen like this where you can edit your profile, add anything, and then you would see repositories. Depending on if it's a new account, you won't see anything there, and then you can then go further. So if I go to repositories, for example, I can then click, you see the new button to create a new repository. And then what this would do is it will ask you to give a name for a repository. So I've done, I can just do a demo for, just give them, yeah, that's available. We can do a brief description. So if it's private, only you will be able to at least, except you start to give people permission or you're hearing collaboration. I'll come to that later to explain what collaborations mean and how you can collaborate with GitHub. You can also include the README. A README file is just a text file where you can input a very detailed description of what your project is about. So when people look at your repository, for example, based on your README file, they can have an idea of what the project is before they go into any of the codes or whatever you have committed in your repository. So the original file most times is always helpful to have. So you can just select that and that's it. It's as easy as that. Then click on create repository. And you're all set up. So again, because I had a original file, you can see I can then edit to probably have more details about what my project is about. And this is just a very easy way to create a new repository. So how then do you, if you have any work, for example, so I would just do a show a quick demo for my group in the last cohort. This is the group project they worked on, and this is the URL, and this is all of the files they worked on and they have been committed here. This was done 2 weeks ago. So if the fact that I have the URL means that I can also try and clone this on my own laptop, but I may not be able to collaborate except they probably invite me to the repository. So, but I'll just show us what that means. So I can copy this. There's HTTPS means that you can clone this on your local. And how do you clone? Is a very easy syntax, which is git clone, then you just paste the URL. I would just open my, so you can use Visual Studio Code or you can use your terminal. If you're using a Mac terminal, if you're using the Windows command prompt, let me create a new one. And please, can you see my terminal? Let me just be sure. Could you just send? Yes, thank you. Git clone, and then I just paste the URL I copied from the group projects that was done by my team, and then hit enter. That's clone. So I'll find this project in my base folder. So I would just show you that in a second. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is a project I just cloned, and that's why you can find it here. So I can then open, if I probably want to make any changes, but whatever changes I make, I can actually commit it to, because I don't have the, I'm invited to this particular repository. So, but if I want to just upload this to my Git demo website, what do I need to do? So I just need to come back to my repository that I just created, and then you can see the add file button. The add file button is just beside the code where you are able to clone the repository. So I can add file, you see upload files. If you select upload files, you are then brought to, you can either decide to do a drag and drop or you can choose files. So I would, let me see if I can move my, 1 sec. So let me see if I can drag and drop. Yep. So all of the files in my folder, it would show that here. And then you would see these are all of the files in the folder I just dropped on this repository. And then I need to include a commit message. The commit message is just like a very brief short description of what you've just what you've probably worked on. So you can just give a brief. So this is Orange HRM project. And then you can probably give an extended description of what if you would like. But again, commit directly to main branch. So there's another thing you would also hear a whole lot in when it comes to Git or any of these repository platforms is that you would find the word branches It's just like having a main branch. Main means that all of the work you've done will go to a main branch. However, if you are working with a group of people, if you are working in a team, there will be a need to work on branches, which means that you will create a branch from the main branch. So it means that all of the codes or whatever you've committed in that main branch would be in your own branch, and then you can able to work. And then it's a little bit technical, but I'm trying as much as I'm not to go into so much details on that. But that's one way. So you hear of branches, you can create multiple branches, and then they would, after you work on a branch, you then need to open a pull request. A pull request then means that all of the changes you've done on your local machine, you can open a pull request for it. Then if you have reviewers, for example, people will be able to view what you've done, just to make sure that you didn't cook any beans in that sense. And then they'll be able to approve, and then they'll be able to merge. So if they merge to main, it means that all of the changes you've also worked on with the existing main that was part of the branch that you created out, you'll be able to now have your own changes with the main branch. So I'm just trying to give a brief description about that. And then all I need to then do here is just commit my changes. A click on commit changes shows, yeah. So now you see this is like time frame of, this is a project I just uploaded to add files. And then if I go here, I'm able to see all of the files that was worked on. So you see a README file here. This is a demo project which I give, PDF files, all of the scripts that was worked on. I can see them here. I can then check. So this is method one, which is it's just a drag and drop feature, or just click on any files that. So if any changes is made, for example, if I make any changes to if it's my work and I make any change, I can always just add one file and then to replace the one that was there before, and then I'll just commit. So that's just one easy way to create a GitHub account, create a GitHub repository, and upload your work. As it is now, if I then go back to Git demo, if I share Git demo, for example, to this chat, and then you probably click on it on your mobile phone, or because it's public, let me find the chat button. 1 second. Okay, sorry, chat button. If I paste the link here, and you probably open it on any of your devices, you'll be able to see the same thing I'm seeing on my screen. And you also can clone it on a local or anything like that. So that's just method one. Method two I would also want to show is using GitHub Desktop. So let me open. If you've downloaded GitHub Desktop, just like I showed in the slide, you can find that in desktop.github.com. You need to sign in with your GitHub credentials that you created. So I will do just that. GitHub. 1 second while I load that up. Okay. So this is what GitHub Desktop would look like. If you're on a Mac, I'm sure it's similar on Windows too. And then if you have this, you can then choose to clone a repository or create a new repository. So what I'll just do is create a new repository, just be able to show this. I can give a brief description too. This is part of the file. This is a demo project. And then I can choose to also add a README file. And then the part of where I want the repository to be created on my machine, it will be in my documents and then on that demo folder. So I can initialize the README file and then just create repository. Now you can see, however, because in demo 2, because this is still on my local, I've not published it yet because there's really nothing yet in it. I've not published it yet to my GitHub account. So if I go back to my GitHub account, and I go back to my repositories, I won't find Git demo 2 that will be present here. So Git demo 2 isn't that way because I've not published it yet. So if I go back to GitHub desktop and I try to just add some files to this, I can then, and I did mention this because I have Visual Studio Code, and then I've already signed in my GitHub account. I can open Visual Studio Code directly from this particular GitHub desktop. So if I click on this, it would open. Let me just enlarge this a bit, just so you can see. Just so I'm sure, can you still see Visual Studio opened? Can you let me know if you do? Can see that? Yes. Okay. Perfect. So this is an empty project, which is in new reposition I just created. If I probably want to add files, then I can either choose to add new file depending on what project I'm working on. Close this, or I can just set up a demo project just for the sake of this demo. So I can go to new terminal. I can choose to collapse this, and then there is a what's it called, demo project I can just quickly set up to be able to showcase this, and that's I will run npm, which is init vite latest. Again, you don't have to so much. This is just me trying to find something to do, just be able to show. So it's nothing that you need to cram or do. This is just trying to find something I can show. And then if I have that, my name and project name, Vite project, I can leave that as this was the sort of project I'm trying to do. Also build a language into the project. You can see just this demo project that is a bit technical, but if you have your own project that you're working on, I'm just trying to showcase something. If you have your own project that you this will be out. It's just for you to if any changes, if you make any changes to your project, it will. I have this on my, so let me go back to this. So this is just a demo project to see what it's with GitHub desktop. This is what the data looks like, and I just click this. If I go back to GitHub desktop now, all of the changes, all of the changes I've just made to any of the files. Currently, there are 17 files in the demo project I just initiated now, and you'll be able to view them here. So again, all of these are still on my current machine. It's not yet in my repository that I created. So I can then give a commit message, which is this is a demo Byte projects. And then I can leave the description blank and then choose commit to main. And then after I do a commit to main, I can then publish. So if I click on publish, it will go to my actual GitHub repository account. So I'll click on publish. It will ask me where do I want it to go. If I leave this unchecked or checked rather, this code private, but I actually want it to be public. It's not, and there's nothing saying it's a demo project. So I will check this and then click on publish repository. And then that takes a couple of seconds to do, and then that's done. So if I go back to my repository and then refresh this, I should see a Git demo 2. Yes, 17 files that I committed. Yes, this is the folder for the project. And if I open this, I'm able to then see all of the folders and files that are related to this project and the README file under the project. So again, this is just a short demo of how you can, again, there are other ways by which you'll be able to commit, push changes to your repository. I just wanted to give these two basic that quite straightforward to be able to do. Another ways would be leveraging on terminal to do a quick commit, and then there are some commands you will need to write. So this is just direct. It's either you do a drag and drop or you use GitHub desktop to be able to collaborate with other people on this. I'll need to the repository, and then they will be able to clean this particular project, and then they will be able to raise a pull request. Now, what that means is that if they raise a pull request, we can then review and then match that changes if there are no issues to this. I think also is that sometimes if you're working with teams, there's something called, you can have conflicts. Conflicts means that what you have worked on, someone else to have worked on it, and then if you try to merge that code, you have conflict, and then you have to resolve those conflicts before you're able to merge. That's something to have in, but if you're just using this to just set up your own portfolio or repository, you really don't. But if you start working in teams, and then they are using GitHub, GitLab, or anything, you would then need help. This is, if you come to settings and I come to collaborators, I'm able to add people if I have their email address, or they're working in the same organization, I can add them to the repository and then we can work together. So it means that multiple people can be working on the same repository. It just means that they will have to, and that's where branch comes in. If I want to work on login feature, for example, I'll create a branch called login, and then any changes I make will be on that login branch. And then in order for me to have that login branch in the main or master, which is like the truth, or that's like the main thing, that's where you find the real work that has been done. So if I want my changes to go to main, we then need to have a review with other collaborators, and then when someone who has permission to merge, they can then match the code that goes to main. One other thing you can also use this for, if you are probably creating a repository, for example, you can also, if you are very versatile in terms of you know how to find your way in terms of creating codes or creating portfolios. This is a sample, not really sample, this is a portfolio website I had worked on using HTML and CSS. You can also use GitHub to host your website or host a portfolio that you can also show up. So it's limitless what you can do with GitHub, but at least in order to showcase your work in terms of repository, to show what you've done, you could create a repository just like I've shown with either of these two methods, and then you'll be able to, as long as public, you can share your repository to anyone for them to see, as long as there are no sensitive information, like I said, and that brings me to the end of my sessions. Do you have any questions? I'm not so sure I've seen anything in the chat yet, but if you have questions, please do. You can unmute or drop it in the chat. I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wale. I don't know, we might get kicked out for a minute, but in case that happens, please just join in.
Okay.
Yeah, I dropped you that message. All right. So
Okay.
I also wanted to say that I don't know if you have like your catalog here. So I mean, for those really for those people from the last cohort that wanted to like really get to know what they missed out, that the other team like really act. So if they are, for instance, for their catalog project, you know, for people that are not necessarily like coders per se, they've not gotten to that point yet. Like using Catalan for basic, you know, record and play kind of vibe, right? So how can they, you know, push some of these Catalan project to GitHub? Like, can you just do like a small, I don't know if you have something to show, but just that short.
I'm trying to see if I have anything on my catalog, but let me see.
Okay. Even though we just have to run
Trying
like
to
a
start it up.
URL, even though it's just one line.
Okay.
Let's try.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see.